Hello class, welcome back. It's great to see you. This unit series is called Types of Sentences. There are 7 lessons in this unit. These 7 lessons, we will be studying the 4 types of sentences: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. Before I begin the lesson on these sentence types, I want to make sure that you have opened or printed the guided notes page that goes with this lesson. This will help you follow along in the video and keep your brain active. You can find this handy document either on my live worksheet page, in a link in the description below, or if you're in my TS99 class, I attached it to an email that I sent with this week's work. If you look at your screen now, you will see what these guided note pages look like. There's a different note page for each of the 7 lessons. Make sure you look at the title at the top of each of the note pages and make sure it matches the title of the video. Let's go ahead and begin talking about the sentence type for today. So today's lesson is the 7th and final lesson on sentence types. We're going to talk today about the sentence type called compound complex sentences. Make sure before you start the video that you have your guided notes page so that you can follow along while we're doing the video. Let's talk about what compound complex sentences are. So a compound complex sentence combines elements of the compound and complex sentences. That's why it's called compound complex. It is the most sophisticated type of sentence that you can use. So understanding how to construct the compound complex sentence will help you take your writing to a whole new level of complexity. But let's review the other sentence types that we've talked about so far. We talked about simple sentences which contain one single independent clause. We also talked about compound sentences, which has 2 independent clauses. In the last unit, we talked about complex sentences, which have 1 independent clause and at least 1 dependent clause. And now we're going to talk about compound complex. So just like the other sentence types, there is a formula for compound complex. So a compound complex sentence is comprised of at least 2 independent clauses and 1 or more dependent clauses. For example, Laura forgot her friend's birthday, but she sent her a card when she finally remembered. So here we had an independent clause, homecoming week is finally here. And the second independent clause, all of the students are dressed up because, and here comes our dependent clause, they want to show their school spirit. Let's read that all together. Homecoming week is finally here, and all of the students are dressed up because they want to show their school spirit. That is an example of a compound, complex structure. Let's look at it broken down even a different way to help you understand. So here we have a subject and a predicate, and another subject and a predicate, and an additional subject and a predicate. The sentence reads like this: Taz is popular because he is a good athlete, but he is not very happy. So now, because compound complex sentences are normally longer than other sentences, it's really important to know how to punctuate these sentences correctly. So let's look at some of the rules for punctuating complex sentences. When dependent clauses begin a sentence, it's followed by a comma. Otherwise, there's no punctuation necessary. Remember that subordinating conjunctions, in the middle, we leave out the comma. Except, remember that non-essential and essential rule. Non-essential relative clauses do need commas. Now, compound sentence rules also apply. For example, we must use commas before a coordinating conjunction. Remember fanboys? And we use that comma when it's being used to combine two independent clauses. We also need to remember to use a semicolon before and a comma after using a conjunctive adverb. Also, use a semicolon by itself if you're using it to separate two independent clauses. These rules should sound familiar as we've talked about them in each one of the lessons. Now, it is also really important to avoid comma splices and fused run-ons. We do want compound complex sentences in our writing, but make sure that it's not a run-on and it keeps going and going. Let's actually look at some examples on how you can create compound complex sentences. So, to create a compound complex sentence, we're going to do it in steps. First step, begin with two independent clauses. The team captain jumped for joy. The fans cheered. Compound sentence, two independent clauses. Now, step 2 says combine the independent clauses to form a compound sentence. The team captain jumped for joy and the fan cheered. We went from two simple sentences to one compound sentence. Now, the third step says add a dependent clause to your compound sentence to create a compound complex sentence. The team captain jumped for joy and the fans cheered because we won the state championship. Or you could say, when we won the state championship, the team captain jumped for joy and the fans cheered. So now it's time to exercise our brains, and I want you to look at some example sentences and identify whether the sentence is a simple sentence, a compound sentence, a complex sentence, or a compound complex sentence. So on your screen, you're going to see some example sentences. You're going to read the sentence carefully and then decide what type of sentence it is. I want you to pause your video, complete the activity, then turn your video back on and I'll go over the answers with you. Go ahead and pause your video now. All right, class, let's see how we did. Let's look at sentence number 1. It says, although it started to sleet, we decided to continue our soccer game. That sentence is a complex sentence. And I know that because I see the word although, which I know is a subordinating conjunction. Let's look at number 2. There were toys on the floor, under the table, and all about the room. Now that sentence, even though it's long, is a simple sentence. It is simple. Number 3, Ellie was enrolled in school full-time and she worked 3 jobs to pay her tuition. That sentence is compound. It has 2 independent clauses. Ellie was enrolled in school full-time. She worked 3 jobs to pay her tuition. Compound. Number 4. Transportation came to a halt after the horrific car accident left 3 bodies on the road. That sentence is complex. Let's look at sentence number 5. Brooke and Shelby and I stayed up until 3 in the morning talking and laughing. That sentence is simple. It has 1 subject and 1 predicate. Let's look at sentence number 6. Unless Bob's work ethic changes, he will spend the rest of his life working for minimum wage. There are thousands of men like Bob who never earned a high school diploma. That one is compound, complex. And the last sentence, music is her passion in life, and her friends say that she is a talented pianist. That sentence is also compound, complex. I realize that was a lot of information in this video. Learning a new language takes time and lots of practice. It can even be more difficult when you can't be in a classroom face-to-face with the teacher. Although there's nothing more that I would like than to be able to be in that classroom face-to-face with you, there is an advantage to having these lessons in a video format. You can always pause the video, write notes and questions, and even repeat instructions that you might need to hear again. Also, don't forget that each of these videos in this series have a guided notes page for you to use. As you watch the video, fill out these guided notes. There's also many activities for you to practice what you have learned. These activities are either in your workbook on the live worksheets, or if you're not in my class, you can find links to these activities in the comments section below. So for now, this concludes today's lesson. But before you go, I'd like to ask you to do a few things. If you enjoyed this video, please show me by hitting the like button here. You can also subscribe to my channel, which will notify every time a new video gets posted. If you have friends or family or other people who you think might enjoy this video, why don't you share it with them? And of course, if you'd like to comment, I'd love to hear from you. Write a couple examples of some of the sentence types you've learned today. And lastly, Please know what a blessing it is for me to share my passion with you. Thank you for allowing me to come on this journey with you to learn English. Goodbye for now. I'll see you very soon.